Hey, fourth grade, this is Miss Wilson coming to you with help with the homework. So we have homework this week on 10 times as many or 10 times as great. And we're comparing two numbers. So the first thing we do is write our two numbers. So my two numbers that I'm comparing is 5,678 and 7,569. Now my first step is to underline the number, the digit that's being compared. So in each one of mine, we are comparing the 5 in the first number to the 5 in the second number. Now I have two ways that I can do this. So my first way is a place value. I would say, how many times do I need to move to get my 5 in my second number in the same spot as the 5 in my first number? So my 5 in my second number is in my hundreds. I know this because I can go ones, tens, hundreds. And that's where the 5 in my second number is. Now the 5 in my first number is in my thousands. Again, I know this by counting my place value. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. And I need to figure out how many places do I need to move my second 5 in order to be in the same place value as my first 5. So I'm gonna move that 5 from the hundredths place to the thousands place. So that's one move. Every time I move one place, it's gonna be 10 times. So I'm saying that the 5 in my first number is 10 times greater than the 5 in my second number. So that's my first strategy. My second strategy will be to use multiplication. So my first 5 is worth 5,000. And my second 5 is worth 500. Now I'm going to multiply my 500 by a multiple of 10, which would be 10, 100, 1,000. In the fourth grade, when we're doing times is great, times is many, times larger, our answer can only be 10, 100, or 1,000. So I'm going to try 10 first. I'm going to take 500 and multiply it times 10. Now I'm going to use the strategy we learned in our classroom. I'm going to X out my zeros and put them in my answer. And then what is that going to leave me to multiply? 5 times 1. And 5 times 1 is 5. So I know that 5,000 is 10 times as great or 10 times larger than 500 because I multiplied it by 10 and I got the 5,000. All right, so let's do another one. So now I'm comparing 7,819 and 8,678. So I'm saying how many times greater is the 7 in my first number than the 7 in my second number? Now I'm going to underline both 7s because those are the only digits that I'm worried about. Now we're going to use our first strategy of moving place values. So I'm going to see how many times I have to move my 7 in my second number in order to get it in the same place value as the 7 in my first number. So I'm starting in my tens, so that's where my 7 is. I'm going to move it one place value. When I'm moving 10 times, it's great. I can only move one place value at a time. So when I'm moving from my tens to my 100, that's going to be 10 times. Did I get my 7 where my other 7 is located? No. So that tells me I need to move it again from the hundreds to the thousands. And then when I moved it from the hundreds to the thousand, that was 10 times also. So I moved it 2 times. So that tells me that the 7 in the thousands place is 100 times greater than my 7 in my tens place. Now, why did I get 100? Because when I moved it the first time, it was 10 times as great. When I moved it the second time, it was another 10 times as great. And 10 times 10 is, yes, 100. So it's 100 times. Now I can also use multiplication. So now I'm going to use multiplication. So I needed to equal up to 7,000. So I'm going to start with 7,000 equals 70, because that's what my 7 and my next and my second number is worth times blank. Now I could definitely just use multiplication. 70 times 10, 700. 70 times 100, 7,000. Because when I multiply by 10, I'm adding 1 0 to 70. When I multiply times 100, I'm adding 2 zeros. But I can also divide. I can do the inverse. I can say 7,000 divided by 70 and underline my first two numbers. How many groups of 70 can I get out of 70? 1. 1 times 70, 70. Subtract 0. Bring down my next number. I have 0. How many groups of 70 can I get out of 0? 0. Then I multiply 70 times 0, 0. Then I subtract. Then I bring down my next number. How many groups of 70 can I get out of 0? 0. That also give me my 100 times is great. So what should I have learned from this video? If I'm using place value, every time I move one place value, it's 10 times. Move 2 place value, it's 100 times. Move 3 place value, it's 1,000 times. Now in 4th grade, we only go up to 1,000. So did you notice that every time I moved one place value, it was 1 0? So 1 place value is 10 times as many. 2 place value is 100 times as many. 2 zeros, move 2 times. All right. The last one I'm going to do is when we compare the digits in the same number. Nothing changes. So in 719,547, I'm going to compare the 7 in the 100,000s place to the 7 in the ones place. Again, I can use multiplication, the inverse division, or I can use place value. So we're going to start at place value. I'm going to see how many times do I move the 7 in the ones where I can get it into the place of my 7 in the 100,000. And I can only move one place value at a time. So I'm going to move it from the ones to the tens, and then that's 10 times. I'm going to move it from the tens to the hundreds, and then that's 10 times. Then I'm going to move it from the hundreds to the thousands, and that's 10 times. I know my times look crazy. Then I'm going to move it from my thousands to my 10,000s, and then that's 10 times. Then I'm going to move it from my 10,000s to my 100,000s, and that's going to be 10 times. Now, using the place value, there's 2 ways I can do it. The first way is I can multiply. 10 times 10, 100. 100 times 10, 1,000. 1,000 times 10, 10,000. 10,000 times 10, 100,000. The second thing I can do is just count how many times I moved, and that's how many zeros will be in my answer. So I moved it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I moved it 5 times. So I'm gonna make sure I have 5 zeros in my times as many. 3, 4, 5. So I'm saying that the 7 in the 100,000s place is 100 times greater than the 7 in the ones. And if I use multiplication, I can get the same thing. 7 times what equals 700,000? And that'll be 100,000. Yeah, my 7 don't look very 7. All right, so I hope this video helped. If you have any other questions, you know you can hit me up on Class Dojo. You can hit me up on my email. Until next time, 4th grade.